Hello everyone. The first step in starting a brand new TPN is to check whether the patient has central line access. The way I like to check that is on this tab here. You go down to lines, tubes, and drains. It'll tell you what lines the patient has, and as you can see, this patient has a PICC line. Sometimes the patients will not have a central access line, and at this point, you would have to follow up with nursing to see whether there are plans for it or not, and if it'll be able to be inserted before the 2100 hang time for our TPNs. The next step is to contact Dietary for the macronutrient recommendations, such as our amino acids and dextrose, and their extension is 32067. Once Dietary has entered their note, you can find it here under Report Notes. Then under Nutrition Documents, and under Nutrition Initial Assessment. And if you scroll towards the middle of this document, you find the recommendations here. What we typically do is print out a paper copy of this document, and we'll discard all the other papers aside from the ones that have the recommendation and highlight the recommendation and attach it to the TPN monitoring form. After you have finished assessing the patient's electrolytes and have determined what micronutrients you want to enter, the next step is entering the 3 separate orders into the Med Manager. The first order consists of the actual TPN build, which consists of the amino acids, dextrose, and all the micronutrients. The second order consists of our TPN Billing order. That'll be under TPN Adults. And our third order is our TPN Pharmacy to dose. And this helps us remember that this patient's on TPN, and it will populate on our daily pharmacokinetic monitoring. Here is a great example of a TPN monitoring form. Start by printing out the TPN Pharmacy to dose label and affixing the top portion to this part of the form here. Then fill out the provider and patient information. Then assess the patient's chart to see if the appropriate labs are ordered. And then fill out the patient's lipid and insulin sliding scale information here. Down here at the bottom, we have our daily electrolyte monitoring. This is meant to have us visualize the trends in the patient's electrolytes, which then helps us formulate what our plan is for the micronutrients in the TPN. As a reminder, the amino acids and the dextrose are going to be recommended by Dietary, so ensure that you check the most updated nutritionist notes. Once you have filled out the TPN monitoring form, you've made your assessments and are ready to start building the TPN inserter, you can search under TPN and choose from the bottom 2 dummy order sets, which are based on the dextrose content. For our case, this patient is recommended by Dietary to be on D50. Once you come to the screen here, you can remove, modify, or update any of the components of the TPN. And at this point, it would be best practice if you had your TPN monitoring form side by side and input each of the components here. Since we are no longer using amino acid 10%, move it. After you have went through each of the components and have compared them with your TPN monitoring form, you then want to change the route to IV Central, enter physician if not already there. And since this is a brand new TPN, we change the rate to 0 because we need to ramp up the TPN. For all TPNs, we do like to start them 2100. And include the ramp up instructions in the comments. After each rate change, the nurses should be checking the blood glucose and following these parameters here. If the glucose is greater than 300, decrease to the previous rate and contact the physician for insulin orders. For this patient, we would have to calculate the rate dividing the total volume, 1,306 mLs, at 24 hours, and our full rate is 54. Half rate is 27 mLs. And 75% of the rate is 40 mLs per hour. So in this case, just fill out this information here. Finally, the following day at 2100, when we can resume at full rate. Communication type should be changed to per protocol. Finally, zero out any labels for now. At this point, you can hit OK and submit. The next step is to input the TPN billing order, and you can also search TPN. And you're going to want to choose this one here, TPN Adult. That one right there. So this volume here is going to have to reflect your total volume of the TPN billed. So in our case, it was 1406 ml. And you're going to want to change the rate to NA. Input the physician, and then here is where we input due chart. Again, we'll repeat that here. And you can erase the product notes on this side. The communication type, again, we want to make it per protocol. And for printing right now, just zero everything out. And hit OK and submit. The third order that you want to make sure you have is the TPN Pharmacy to dose. So again, search for TPN and choose the TPN Pharmacy to dose here. For the dose, you can leave it as RX to dose. Here. And for quantity per dose, it's just 1. Hit OK. For the route, you're going to leave it as NA, frequency as directed, and enter the physician if not already in there, and start time again, 2100. And lastly, our communication type is per protocol. This order actually should be the first order that you see, which gives you the indication that the patient will be started on TPN. So this likely will be the order that the physician will enter that you will need to verify. The fourth component of TPN order entry is entering our SMOF lipids. Our patient is ordered for 20%, 250 mLs. Enter in Q24H interval for the frequency. Infusion time for our SMOF lipids is 12 hours. Just like our TPN, we want the start time to be 2100. And copy over the filter requirements. The communication type, change to per protocol. And finally, zero out any labels for now. Then we can hit OK and submit. The next portion of TPN order entry is entering the patient's information into CAPS. On the CAPS homepage, you go under 503A, go under Patients, and click New Patient. Next, you fill out all the patient's information. Patient's first name, last name. The patient ID is the FIN number, and the MRN is obviously the MRN number. After you have filled out all of this information, click Next, and you're going to want to make sure you click Save and Continue, and it's going to automatically populate an adult TPN template, so make sure that that is also checked off. Once you have entered the TPN into caps as well as into Cerner, it's now time to print the labels. The TPN build order, you want to print 2 copies. However, you do not want to charge the patient. So uncheck this box here. Next label that we need is the billing label. For the TPN billing order, it is the order that we use to bill the patients, so it's okay to just keep this box checked, and we only need 1 label for that. At this point, you can hit submit, and the patients will be charged, and 2 labels will come out for the TPN billed orders. Once both orders are entered into CAPS and MedManager, print out the CAPS sheet and affix the TPN billing label as well as one of the TPN build labels onto this sheet. And this will be your final triple check to ensure that the CAPS order reflects what's entered in Cerner. One of the last 2 components for TPN order entry is ensuring that we have all the appropriate labs ordered for the patients. Now, 9 times out of 10, the physicians will already have the appropriate labs. However, if you wanted to double check to see if we have everything ordered, you can go under Power Orders. And search for total. And choose the total parenteral nutrition with the pizza box. And these should all be appropriate management finger sticks as well as labs, BMPs, TMPs, mag and phosphate levels, CBCs as well. And since we had already contacted Dietary, we can actually uncheck these 2 boxes here. So I would use this entry with caution, because like I mentioned earlier, 9 times out of 10, the physicians will already have orders in place. But this is meant to just be a double check. And so we want to prevent any duplicate lab entries. So just use this with caution.